Admiral Jack Morrison sat in his office at the Pacific Fleet Command, staring at the glowing screen before him. The message had arrived 30 minutes ago, but he still couldn't believe what he was reading. The words seemed to burn into his mind with each reading. He pressed the intercom button on his desk. "Get me Ambassador Carter on the secure line. Priority 1. While waiting for the connection, Jack walked to the large window overlooking the harbor. Dozens of human ships floated peacefully in the morning sun. Soon, if this message was real, they might all be gone. Admiral Morrison. This is Lisa Carter speaking. Jack turned back to his desk. Ambassador, we have a problem. I'm sending you an encrypted file right now. Read it and call me back in 5 minutes. Lisa Carter was on Earth for her monthly briefing. As humanity's chief representative to the Galactic Senate, she spent most of her time on Nexus Prime, the capital world of the galaxy. She had seen many strange things in her 10 years as ambassador, but nothing had prepared her for this message. Her hands shook slightly as she read the official document. The Galactic Senate had called an emergency session. All 12 alien species had voted. The decision was final. Humanity had 90 days to disarm completely. She called Morrison back immediately. Jack, this can't be real. They want us to surrender every warship, every defense platform, every military satellite we have. That's what it says, Lisa. And look at the signature list. Every single species voted yes, even the Tyrellians, and they've been our friends since first contact. Lisa sat down heavily in her chair. The Tyrellians were known for being fair and peaceful. If they voted to disarm humanity, something serious was happening. There's more, Jack continued. Speaker Zethmar of the Valkyrie is personally leading this. He's calling it Resolution 2847X. Says we're a threat to galactic peace. The Valkyrie. Lisa spat the name like it tasted bad. The Valkyrie were tall, gray-skinned aliens who looked down on younger species. They had been in space for thousands of years and never let anyone forget it. What's their reasoning? She asked. Jack read from the document. Quote, humanity has shown dangerous patterns of aggressive expansion and military buildup. In 50 years, they have built more warships than any species in their first century of galactic membership. Their technology advances too quickly, and their territorial claims grow larger each year. For the safety of all galactic citizens, humanity must be limited to civilian vessels only. End quote. Lisa felt anger rising in her chest. Aggressive expansion. We've only colonized empty systems, and we've traded fairly with everyone we've met. I know that, and you know that. But apparently, someone's convinced the Senate otherwise. What did President Hamilton say when you told him? I haven't told him yet. You're the first call I made. Lisa, you need to get back to Nexus Prime immediately. This emergency session is in 3 days. Already. That's barely enough time for me to travel there. That might be the point, Jack said grimly. They want to make this quick and clean. No time for us to organize a response. Lisa started mentally planning her trip. Jack, what aren't they telling us? The Valkyrie don't do anything without a hidden reason. They've tolerated our expansion for 50 years. Why now? I've been wondering the same thing. I'm calling a meeting with General Brooks and Secretary Ward in 2 hours. We need to understand what we're really dealing with. Be careful who you trust, Lisa warned. If the Valkyrie could convince all 12 species to vote against us, they might have spies anywhere. Already thought of that. We're meeting in the secure room at the Pentagon. No electronics, no recording devices, just old-fashioned conversation. Lisa grabbed her travel bag and started packing. I'll leave for Nexus Prime in 6 hours. But Jack, I need you to know something. I've heard whispers in the diplomatic circles. Some of the younger species are scared of us, but not all of them agree with this resolution. What kind of whispers? The kind that suggest the Valkyrie have been spreading stories about human weapons, human aggression, human plans for conquest. Stories that aren't true, but sound convincing if you don't know us very well. Jack felt a cold weight in his stomach. You think this is all planned? A setup? I think the Valkyrie want us gone, and they figured out how to make it look legal. Lissa sealed her bag and headed for the door. I'll find out what I can on Nexus Prime. But Jack, start preparing for the worst. If they really mean to disarm us, we need to be ready for what comes after. What comes after? Lisa paused at the door. If you take away a species' ability to defend itself, you're usually planning to attack them. The line went quiet for a moment. Then Jack spoke, his voice hard as steel. Let them try. After the call ended, Admiral Morrison sat back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. 50 years ago, humanity had joined the galactic community with hope and excitement. They had traded knowledge, shared culture, and explored the stars together. Now, it seemed, that golden age was coming to an end. He picked up his secure phone to call President Hamilton. The next 90 days would determine whether humanity remained free or became slaves to alien powers who feared their potential. General Ryan Brooks walked quickly through the Pentagon halls. His boots echoed off the polished floors as staff members stepped aside to let him pass. Everyone could see the storm in his eyes. The emergency meeting Admiral Morrison had called was about to begin. He pushed open the heavy door to Conference Room 7, the most secure room in the building. Defense Secretary Helen Ward was already there, studying papers spread across the table. Admiral Morrison looked up from his tablet. General Brooks, thank you for coming so quickly, Morrison said. What's this about, Jack? Your message said Code Black priority. Helen Ward looked up from her papers. Ryan, sit down. You're going to need to hear this. Brooks took his seat at the large oak table. The room had no windows, and the walls were lined with metal to block any electronic listening devices. When the Pentagon wanted to talk in complete privacy, this was where they came. Morrison activated a screen on the wall. The Galactic Senate's official seal appeared. 2 hours ago, we received this message from Nexus Prime. The document appeared on screen. Brooks read it quickly, his face growing darker with each line. When he finished, he leaned back in his chair and was quiet for a long moment. 90 days, he finally said. They want us to give up everything in 90 days. Every warship, every defense platform, every military satellite. Ward confirmed. They're calling it mandatory compliance with Galactic Resolution 2847X. Brooks stood up and began pacing. This is impossible. We have over 200 warships spread across 15 systems. Our defense networks protect 50 million civilians. They want us to just hand it all over. That's not the worst part, Morrison said. He changed the screen to show a star map. Red dots appeared around several human colonies. Captain Turner's ship detected these movements 3 hours ago. Alien vessels are positioning themselves around our outer settlements. Ward pointed to the screen. New Austin, New Dallas, New Chicago. All our newest colonies have alien ships watching them. Watching or threatening? Brooks asked. Both, Morrison replied. Turner tried to contact them on standard frequencies. No response, but their weapons systems are powered up. Brooks felt his anger rising. So while they tell us to disarm, they're putting armed ships around our people. It gets worse. Ward slid another paper across the table. Intelligence reports that the Valkyrie have been buying up shipping contracts near human space. They're also quietly increasing their fleet size in the outer sectors. Morrison nodded. Frank Taylor's people have been tracking unusual movement patterns for 6 months. We thought it was just normal military exercises. Now it looks like preparation. Preparation for what? Brooks asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. For after we disarm, Ward said quietly. Think about it. Remove our ability to fight back, then move in with overwhelming force. Brooks sat back down heavily. How much does the president know? He knows about the disarmament order. He doesn't know about the ships around our colonies yet. I wanted to brief him with a full picture. When are we telling him? Morrison checked his watch. In 2 hours. He's clearing his afternoon schedule for an emergency cabinet meeting. Ward gathered her papers. There's something else. Something that might change everything. The two men looked at her expectantly. Project Safeguard, she said simply. Brooks raised an eyebrow. I thought that was just a research program. It was supposed to be. But 3 years ago, we got funding to expand it. Frank Taylor has been running a side project. A very quiet side project. What kind of project? Morrison asked. Ward stood up and walked to the secure terminal in the corner. She entered a long password and scanned her palm. A new file appeared on the main screen. The kind that might give us a fighting chance, she said. The file showed technical blueprints and test results. Brooks whistled low as he read the title. Advanced Defense Initiative. Classification Level Ultra Black. Helen, please tell me this is what I think it is. For 20 years, we've been preparing for the day someone would try to push humanity around. We just didn't think it would be the entire galaxy at once. Morrison studied the screen. How many people know about this? Including us. 12. And half of them built it. Ward saved the file and secured the terminal again. The question is, do we tell the president now, or do we wait? Brooks thought for a moment. If we're going to refuse the disarmament order, he needs to know we have options. Real options. Agreed, Morrison said. But we need to be careful how we present this. The president is a diplomat at heart. He'll want to try talking first. Nothing wrong with talking, Ward said, but we need to make sure we're talking from a position of strength. A soft knock came at the door. A young aide stepped in and handed Morrison a message. The admiral read it quickly, and his face grew serious. Captain Turner just sent another report. The alien ships around New Austin have started scanning the colony. Deep scans. They're mapping every building, every defense, every weakness. Brooks stood up again. That's not watching. That's targeting. The president needs to know everything, Ward decided. Project Safeguard, the ships around our colonies. All of it. Morrison nodded. And we need to decide what we're going to recommend. Do we comply with their demands, or do we fight? There's a third option, Brooks said quietly. We let them think we're complying while we prepare for war. Ward smiled grimly. Project Safeguard gives us that option. But it means lying to the galaxy for 90 days. Better than being slaves for the next 1,000 years, Brooks replied. Morrison gathered the papers from the table. Gentlemen, lady, I think we have our recommendation for the president. As they left the secure room, each carried the weight of what was coming. Humanity had been in space for 50 years, making friends and exploring new worlds. Now they faced the possibility of fighting for their very survival. The next 90 days would determine whether humans remained free, or whether freedom was just something other species decided they deserved. Dr. Susan Blake rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the alien text scrolling across her computer screen. She had been working for 16 hours straight, trying to decode intercepted Valkyrie communications. The coffee beside her had gone cold hours ago. A knock at her lab door made her look up. Marine Colonel Steve Parker stood in the doorway, looking as tired as she felt. Any luck with those transmissions, Doc? Susan leaned back in her chair. Some. And what I'm finding isn't good news. She gestured for him to come in. Close the door, Steve. What I'm about to show you is classified above your clearance level, but General Brooks said to show you everything. Parker closed the door and pulled a chair next to her desk. How bad is it? See this transmission. It was sent from the Valkyrie homeworld 2 days before they announced the disarmament order. She pointed to lines of translated text on her screen. They're not just trying to disarm us, Steve. They're planning to control us. Parker read over her shoulder. What does this mean? Phase 2 implementation after compliance verification. That's what worries me. Phase 2 isn't mentioned anywhere else in their communications. But look at this. She opened another file. 3 months ago, the Valkyrie started buying mining rights in the outer sector. Specifically, systems we've marked for future exploration. They're jumping our claims. Not exactly. They're buying systems we haven't even applied for yet. Systems our scientists say contain rare minerals. Susan pulled up a star chart. Every system they've purchased is less than 50 light-years from human space. Parker studied the map. They're building a circle around us. That's what I think too. But why? Susan switched to another screen. Then I found this transmission from yesterday. The alien text appeared with English translation below it. Parker, read it slowly. Holy hell. They're calling us the problem species. It gets worse. They claim we're developing technology too fast. That we're dangerous because we adapt alien tech faster than any species they've ever seen. Is that true? Susan nodded. Unfortunately, yes. We've reverse-engineered Valkyrie shield technology, Tyrellian jump drives, even Zephyrian weapon systems. What takes other species decades to copy, we figure out in years. Parker stood up and began pacing. So they're scared of us. Terrified. And there's more. She opened yet another file. Remember Commander Wilson out at Outpost Omega? She sent a priority message this morning. Kate Wilson. What's she seeing out there? Massive fleet movements. Not just Valkyrie ships. She's identified Nexari battlecruisers, Cytherian destroyers, even hegemony dreadnoughts, all heading toward the border of human space. Parker felt his blood run cold. How many ships? Over 300 confirmed. Maybe more. 300. That's more than our entire fleet. Susan nodded grimly. Commander Wilson also detected something else. Energy signatures she's never seen before. Ships using cloaking technology we don't have. How many hidden ships? Unknown. But if they're hiding ships, they're planning something bigger than just forcing us to disarm. Parker sat back down. Doc, you're telling me this disarmament order is just the first step in some kind of invasion? I think so, and I have proof. She pulled out a data chip. Agent Rogers gave me this yesterday. His spy network intercepted a meeting between Valkyrie commanders and leaders from 6 other species. What did they say? They called it the human solution, a permanent way to deal with the human problem. Susan's voice was shaking slightly. Steve, they're not planning to just disarm us. They're planning to break us completely. Parker took the data chip. I need to get this to General Brooks immediately. Wait, there's something else. Something that might explain why they're so afraid of us. Susan opened a final file. This one showed survey data from human colonies. Agent Rogers' people found something interesting. Remember the archaeological dig on New Austin? The one that found those strange metal fragments? Yeah, some kind of ancient ruins. What about them? Those weren't just any ruins. According to this report, they contained technology fragments from something called the Architects, and we're not the only ones who found them. Parker leaned forward. What do you mean? 3 other human colonies have found similar ruins. New Dallas, New Chicago, and the research station at Kepler 442. All of them contain the same type of advanced technology. How advanced? Advanced enough that our best scientists can't fully understand it. But here's the interesting part. Susan pointed to a graph on her screen. Every time we find these ruins, our technology development speeds up dramatically. You think these architect ruins are helping us advance faster? I think the aliens believe that. And I think that's what really scares them. Susan saved her files and locked her computer. Steve, what if the Valkyrie aren't just afraid of human military power? What if they're afraid we're going to become more advanced than them? Parker stood up, the data chip tight in his hand. Then we're not just fighting for our right to defend ourselves. We're fighting for our right to exist as a free species. Exactly. And if Commander Wilson is right about those fleet movements, we don't have much time to figure out what to do about it. Parker headed for the door. I'm taking this straight to General Brooks. He needs to see this before his meeting with the president. Steve, be careful who you share this with. If the aliens have spies in our government, this information could get us all killed. Parker paused at the door. "Doc, if what you found is true, we might all be dead anyway if we don't fight back." After Parker left, Susan sat alone in her lab, staring at the data on her screen. 50 years of peaceful contact with alien species, and it had all been leading to this moment. The galaxy wanted to clip humanity's wings before they learned to fly too high. She thought about the ruins on New Austin and the other colonies. Ancient technology from a vanished race, somehow helping humanity advance faster than any species in galactic history. If the aliens saw this as a threat, what did that say about their own intentions? Susan grabbed her secure phone and dialed Agent Rogers' number. If they were going to fight for humanity's future, they needed every advantage they could get. And something told her the Architect ruins were more important than anyone realized. The investigation was revealing a dark truth. The disarmament order wasn't about galactic peace. It was about preventing humanity from becoming something the aliens couldn't control. Ambassador Lisa Carter's ship landed at Andrews Air Force Base 3 days later. She had spent the journey from Nexus Prime, reviewing the Galactic Senate's terms one final time. Each reading made them seem more unreasonable. President George Hamilton waited for her in the Oval Office. General Brooks, Admiral Morrison, and Secretary Ward sat with him around the large wooden desk. The room felt heavy with tension. "Lisa, thank you for getting back so quickly," the president said as she entered. "What did you learn?" Carter sat down and opened her briefcase. "Mr. President, it's worse than we thought. The Valkyrie aren't just leading this resolution. They're threatening any species that might change their vote." "Threatening how?" Secretary Ward asked. "Trade sanctions, military pressure, diplomatic isolation. The smaller species are terrified. The Tyrellians wanted to abstain from the vote, but the Valkyrie convinced them that humanity would turn on them eventually." General Brooks leaned forward. "What about species that might support us?" "The Zephyrians asked me privately if humans would accept limited disarmament instead of total disarmament. The hegemony representative said they might reconsider if we agreed to technology sharing agreements." President Hamilton rubbed his forehead. "So they want our technology, but don't want us to have weapons to protect it." "Exactly." Carter pulled out a datapad. "But there's something else. The Valkyrie gave me this list of compliance requirements. It's not just about our military." She handed the pad to Admiral Morrison. His face grew dark as he read. "They want access to all our research facilities, our manufacturing centers, our colony databases. They're calling it verification of compliance," Carter explained. "But it means alien inspectors on every human world, with full access to everything we build." President Hamilton stood up and walked to the window overlooking the White House gardens. "So we surrender our ability to defend ourselves, then give them free access to anything they want to take." "That's the deal," Carter confirmed. "And if we refuse, they've made it clear what happens next. Which is economic sanctions first, then a complete blockade of human space, finally what they call enforcement action." General Brooks snorted. "They mean invasion. They don't use that word, but yes." President Hamilton turned back to the room. "How long do we have to decide?" "They want an answer within 48 hours. Full compliance must begin within 1 week." Secretary Ward looked at Admiral Morrison. "Jack, show him what we found." Morrison activated a wall screen. The display showed the alien fleet positions around human colonies. "Mr. President, they're not waiting for our answer. They're already in position." Red dots appeared on the star map. Each dot represented alien warships near human settlements. "How many ships?" the president asked. "Over 400 confirmed. More arriving every day." President Hamilton studied the map quietly. When he spoke, his voice was calm but firm. "They expect us to roll over because we're the youngest species in the galaxy." "Sir," General Brooks wasn't sure he understood. "They think because we've only been in space for 50 years, we're weak. That we'll do whatever they tell us to keep the peace." "Will we, sir?" Admiral Morrison asked. The president looked around the room at each person. Helen, show me Project Safeguard. Secretary Ward activated another display. Technical diagrams and test results filled the screen. For 20 years, we've been developing defensive technologies, shields, weapons, detection systems, all based on recovered alien technology. Recovered, found on different worlds. Ancient ruins containing technology more advanced than anything the current galactic species possess. President Hamilton studied the displays. How advanced? Advanced enough to level the playing field, General Brooks said. Maybe more than level it. Are these systems operational? The first generation is online. We've been testing quietly for 3 years. Where? Admiral Morrison changed the screen to show Luna Base. On the moon, sir. Hidden installations throughout the solar system. And some of our outer colonies have shield generators they don't know about. The president nodded slowly. Lisa, you said 48 hours for an answer. Yes, sir. Then we give them an answer. He walked to his desk and picked up a secure phone. Get me a direct line to the Galactic Senate. Broadcasting network, not just to Nexus Prime. Secretary Ward looked concerned. Sir, if you're going to refuse, maybe we should do it privately first. No. If they're going to threaten humanity publicly, we respond publicly. The communications specialist set up the broadcast equipment quickly. Within minutes, President Hamilton was connected to the entire Galactic Senate and every major world in human space. Citizens of the galaxy, this is President Hamilton of Earth. 3 days ago, the Galactic Senate demanded that humanity disarm completely within 90 days. Today, I give you our answer. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Humanity rejects this ultimatum completely. We have committed no crimes, threatened no peaceful species, and broken no galactic laws. We will not surrender our right to defend ourselves and our people. Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate. In the Galactic Senate chambers on Nexus Prime, Speaker Zethmar rose from his seat, his gray face twisted with anger. President Hamilton continued. However, we do not seek conflict. Earth proposes a new solution. A galactic treaty guaranteeing the sovereignty and security of all species, with shared scientific advancement and mutual defense agreements. Admiral Morrison smiled slightly. The president was offering them everything they wanted, but on equal terms instead of surrender terms. To demonstrate our commitment to peace and our ability to defend it, I authorize a demonstration of Earth's defensive capabilities. He nodded to General Brooks, who sent a coded message to Luna Base. On the moon, massive shield generators came online. The energy field they created was visible from Earth, a shimmering dome of light that covered the entire lunar surface. This shield technology is purely defensive, the president explained. It cannot be used as a weapon, but it can protect our worlds from any attack. In the Senate chambers, several alien delegates were talking excitedly. The technology they were seeing was beyond anything they possessed. Earth remains open to peaceful discussion and negotiation, but we will not submit to threats or ultimatums. If the galaxy chooses conflict over cooperation, they will find humanity ready for either path. President Hamilton ended the broadcast and sat back in his chair. Secretary Ward broke the silence. Sir, that was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or the most dangerous. Sometimes they're the same thing, the president replied. Admiral Morrison's communication device beeped. He read the message and looked up. Mr. President, we're getting responses from across the galaxy. The Zephyrians are requesting immediate diplomatic talks. The hegemony wants to discuss the technology sharing proposal. And the Velkari. No response yet, but our deep space monitors show their fleets changing course. They're moving toward Earth. President Hamilton stood up. Then they've made their choice. General Brooks, Admiral Morrison, activate all Project Safeguard systems. If they want a war, they'll get one. But not the kind of war they're expecting. The die was cast. Humanity had refused to surrender, demonstrated their advanced technology, and offered a peaceful alternative. Now they would see if the galaxy was interested in cooperation or domination. The refusal had left many species speechless, but it had also revealed the true nature of the threat they faced. The next move belonged to the aliens, and humanity would be ready for whatever they decided. 3 hours after President Hamilton's announcement, alarms rang throughout human space. From Earth to the farthest colonies, humanity began preparing for war. Colonel Steve Parker stood in the massive underground facility beneath Colorado's Rocky Mountains. Around him, thousands of soldiers prepared weapons and equipment they had hoped never to use. The concrete walls echoed with the sound of boots and machinery. "How long until all systems are online?" Parker asked the technician beside him. 6 hours, sir. The automated defense platforms are coming out of hibernation mode now." Parker watched screens showing defensive systems activating across human space. For 20 years, these systems had waited in silence. Hidden asteroid bases, camouflaged space stations, and underground bunkers were all coming to life. On Mars, Admiral Beth Strong walked through the command center at Mars Central. Red warning lights bathed everything in an eerie glow. Officers moved quickly between stations, coordinating with Earth and the outer colonies. "Admiral, all Mars defense grids are operational," reported her second in command. "Shield generators at full power. Weapon platforms armed and ready." "What about our ships?" Strong asked. "The Fourth Fleet is moving into defensive positions around Mars. The Sixth Fleet is heading to protect the Jupiter mining stations." Strong nodded as she looked at the tactical display. Dozens of human ships were moving into positions that had been planned years ago. "Get me a connection to Admiral Morrison on Earth." The communication link opened, showing Morrison's face on a large screen. Behind him, the Pentagon Command Center buzzed with activity. "Beth, what's your status?" "Mars is ready, Jack. All our hidden defenses are coming online. But I'm more worried about our outer colonies." "We've got that covered. Commander Wilson at Outpost Omega is coordinating with the colony defense forces." Far from Earth, at the edge of human space, Commander Kate Wilson stood on the observation deck of Outpost Omega. Through the reinforced glass, she could see stars that looked peaceful and quiet. She knew better. Her chief science officer approached with a datapad. "Commander, our long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures. The alien fleets are definitely moving this way." "How many ships now?" Wilson asked. "Over 500 confirmed, and they're not trying to hide anymore." Wilson studied the data. The alien ships were arranged in a formation she had never seen before. "This isn't just a show of force. This is a full invasion fleet." "Should we contact the colonies?" "Already done. New Austin, New Dallas, and New Chicago are all activating their defense systems." Wilson turned to head back to the command center. "And they're about to learn something the aliens don't know." On New Austin, the colony's newest settlement, Mayor Bill Roberts watched as strange-looking devices rose from the ground around the city. Most colonists had no idea these massive shield generators had been built into their town's foundation. Dr. Mary Johnson, the chief science officer, stood beside him as the generators hummed to life. "Will this really work, Mary?" Roberts asked nervously. "The tests were successful. These shields can stop anything the aliens can throw at us." Chief Engineer Rick Davis joined them, wiping grease from his hands. "The power systems are stable. We can maintain full shields for at least 30 days. Hopefully we won't need them that long," Roberts said, watching the energy dome form over their colony. On Earth, President Hamilton met with his War Council in the secure bunker beneath the White House. The room was filled with screens showing the activation of defense systems across human space. "Report," the president said as he entered. General Brooks stood up. "All major defensive systems are online. Colony shields are active. Fleet positions are optimal." Secretary Ward added, "The hidden manufacturing facilities are beginning production of additional weapons and ships. We've been stockpiling materials for years." "How long can we maintain this level of readiness?" Hamilton asked. Admiral Morrison consulted his notes. With our current resources, we can fight at full capacity for 6 months. Maybe longer if the civilian population supports rationing. They will, the president said confidently. What about our special projects? Dr. Susan Blake stepped forward. The technology we've recovered from the Architect ruins is being integrated into our most advanced systems. It's proving even more effective than we hoped. Effective how? Our new shield technology is 30% stronger than our best projections. The weapon systems are more accurate and powerful. And we've discovered something else. The president raised an eyebrow. What? The Architect technology seems to respond to human genetic patterns. It works better for us than it would for other species. Secretary Ward looked surprised. Are you saying this ancient technology was designed for humans? I don't know. But every test shows the same results. When we use this technology, it performs beyond its original specifications. Admiral Morrison's communication device beeped urgently. He read the message and looked up with a grim expression. Mr. President, the Valkyrie fleet has crossed into the outer system. They're heading straight for New Austin. How long until they arrive? 18 hours. President Hamilton stood up. Then we'll have our answer soon. Are our people ready, General? As ready as they can be, sir. But, Mr. President, there's something you should know. What? General Brooks activated a display showing energy readings from space. Our sensors are detecting weapon signatures we've never seen before. The Valkyrie are using technology that's not in any of our databases. New weapons, or very old ones. The energy patterns match some of the readings from the Architect ruins. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. You're telling me the aliens might have Architect technology too? The president asked. Dr. Blake nodded slowly. It's possible. The question is, why are they using it now? And why didn't they use it before? Agent Paul Rogers, who had been quietly listening from the back of the room, stepped forward. Mr. President, my intelligence network has picked up something interesting. The Valkyrie have been excavating sites on their home world for the past year. Ancient sites, similar to what we found on our colonies. So they'd been preparing for this conflict longer than we thought. Hamilton concluded. Yes, sir. And they're not just afraid of our technology. They're afraid we'll discover something they've been hiding for centuries. The president looked around the room at his advisors. Outside, the lights of Washington flickered as the city prepared for possible war. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems this conflict is about more than just military power. We're fighting for the right to uncover the truth about the Architects and our place in the galaxy. Admiral Morrison checked his watch. The Valkyrie will reach New Austin tomorrow morning. That's when we'll find out if our defenses are really as good as we hope. President Hamilton nodded. Send a message to all our colonies and fleets. Tell them humanity stands together. Whatever happens in the next few days will determine our future for generations to come. As the meeting ended, each person left with the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. Across human space, millions of people went to bed not knowing if they would wake up as free citizens or conquered subjects. The preparation was complete. Now came the test that would determine if humanity's boldness had been courage or foolishness. In 18 hours, they would have their answer. The morning sun cast long shadows across New Austin as the Valkyrie fleet appeared in the outer system. 3 massive battleships led a formation of 20 smaller vessels, their dark hulls gleaming against the stars. On the colony's surface, Mayor Bill Roberts stood in the command center, watching the tactical display. The alien ships moved in perfect formation toward their world. How long until they reach us? He asked Colonel Lisa Murphy, the military commander stationed on New Austin. 42 minutes at current speed, Murphy replied. She was a small woman with steel in her voice. The shields are at full power. Defense platforms are armed and ready. Dr. Mary Johnson monitored the energy readings from the approaching ships. Their weapon signatures are unlike anything in our database. These aren't standard Valkyrie systems. Chief Engineer Rick Davis checked his displays one more time. Our shields are holding steady. If their tests were accurate, We can absorb whatever they throw at us. The colony's civil defense sirens wailed across New Austin. 30,000 colonists moved quickly into the underground shelters that had been built for this exact situation. Children clutched their parents' hands as families descended into the reinforced bunkers. In space above the colony, the Valkyrie ships took up attack positions. The largest battleship, twice the size of any human vessel, moved to the front of the formation. Admiral Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system from Earth. New Austin, this is Earth Command. We're monitoring the situation. Do not fire unless fired upon. Colonel Murphy keyed her microphone. Understood, Earth Command. We're ready for whatever comes. On the Lid Valkyrie ship, Commander Thekvar studied the human colony below. His gray skin was marked with the ritual scars of a veteran warrior. Behind him, his weapons officer waited for orders. The humans believe they can resist us, Thekvar said to his bridge crew. Today we show them the price of defiance. Sir, our sensors detect some kind of energy field around the colony, the weapons officer reported. A simple defense shield. Our new weapons will make short work of it. Thekvar activated the ship's main communication system. Human colony, this is the Valkyrie force. You have violated Galactic Senate Resolution 2847X. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Colonel Murphy responded without hesitation. Valkyrie vessels, this is Colonel Murphy of the New Austin Defense Force. We have committed no crimes and will not surrender our home. Thekvar's facial features twisted in what humans might recognize as a cruel smile. So be it. Fire. The Valkyrie battleship's main weapon charged with a sound like thunder. A beam of purple energy, brighter than the sun, lanced down toward the colony. The beam struck the shield dome surrounding New Austin. For a moment, the energy field blazed with brilliant light. The ground shook as incredible forces collided above the city. Then the light faded. The shield held. On the Valkyrie bridge, shocked silence filled the air. The weapon that had destroyed cities across the galaxy had done nothing to the human defenses. Impossible, breathed the weapons officer. That was a full power blast from our primary cannon. Thekvar stared at the colony below, still protected by its shimmering dome. Fire again. All ships, concentrate fire on the shield. 20 Valkyrie ships opened fire at once. Purple energy beams crisscrossed through space, all focused on the dome above New Austin. The sky above the colony turned bright as day as massive energies crashed against the human shields. Inside the command center, the lights flickered as the shield absorbed the attack. The ground rumbled, but the protective dome held firm. Shield strength at 85%, Davis reported, his voice steady despite the chaos outside. We can take a lot more of this. Dr. Johnson watched her instruments in amazement. The architect technology is exceeding all projections. The shield is actually getting stronger as it absorbs their energy. Colonel Murphy smiled grimly. Let's give them something to think about. She activated the colony's defense platforms. 12 automated weapon systems rose from hidden positions around New Austin. They were smaller than the Valkyrie cannons, but they moved with deadly precision. The platforms fired in unison. Beams of blue-white energy reached into space, striking the closest Valkyrie ships. Their shields flared and failed under the precise assault. 2 smaller vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs. On the battleship, chaos erupted as alarms sounded throughout the ship. We've lost the Devourer and the Painbringer, the tactical officer reported. The human weapons cut right through our shields. Thekvar couldn't believe what he was seeing. A small human colony was not only defending itself against the mighty Valkyrie fleet, but fighting back successfully. Retreat to safe distance, he ordered reluctantly. Prepare for orbital bombardment. As the Valkyrie ships pulled back, a new contact appeared on their sensors. A single human vessel, much smaller than any Valkyrie ship, approached at high speed. Captain Alex Turner sat on the bridge of the UES Freedom, watching the enemy fleet regroup. His ship was fast and heavily armed, but tiny compared to the Valkyrie battleships. "Sir, should we wait for reinforcements?" his first officer asked. "No." Admiral Morrison's orders were clear. "Deliver the message." Turner opened a communication channel to the Valkyrie fleet. "Valkyrie ships, this is Captain Turner of the United Earth Ship Freedom. I carry a message from Admiral Morrison of Earth Command." Thekfar's image appeared on Turner's screen. The Valkyrie commander looked angry and confused. "Human vessel, you are greatly outnumbered. Surrender now or be destroyed." Turner smiled calmly. "Commander, I'm not here to surrender. I'm here to deliver terms." "Terms? You dare offer terms to us?" "Earth's terms are simple. Withdraw your fleet immediately, and no further action will be taken. Continue your attack, and face the consequences." Thekfar laughed, a harsh grating sound. "One small ship threatens 20 vessels of the Valkyrie fleet." "Not one ship," Turner replied. "Look at your long-range sensors." The Valkyrie tactical officer checked his instruments and paled. "Sir, multiple contacts approaching. Human fleet incoming." On the main viewer, 12 human warships appeared, moving in perfect formation. At their head was the massive UES Constitution, Admiral Morrison's flagship. But Turner wasn't finished. "Commander, you attacked a peaceful colony without warning. You used weapons against civilians. Humanity considers this an act of war. Your threats mean nothing to us." Thekfar snarled. "No threats, Commander. Just facts." Turner's expression grew serious. "Earth seeks peace, but we won't accept conquest. You wanted to see humanity's military capabilities. Keep attacking our colonies and you'll see more than you bargained for." The Valkyrie commander stared at the approaching human fleet, then at the colony below that had withstood his best weapons. His tactical situation had changed completely in just 1 hour. "This isn't over, human." "It could be," Turner replied. "The choice is yours." As the Valkyrie fleet began to withdraw from New Austin, people throughout the galaxy watched in shock. The mighty Valkyrie, conquerors of a dozen worlds, had been stopped by a single human colony. Word of the battle spread quickly through alien communication networks. Humanity had not just survived the first strike, they had won it decisively. In the command center on New Austin, Colonel Murphy received congratulations from Earth Command. But she knew this was just the beginning. The Valkyrie would return, and next time they would come prepared for a real war. The first strike had failed, but it had also revealed something important. Humanity's architect-enhanced technology was far more powerful than anyone had imagined. The question now was whether the aliens would recognize this demonstration of strength or see it as reason to bring an even larger force. Earth's response to the attack had left the galaxy speechless, but the war was far from over. 2 days after the failed attack on New Austin, the UES Freedom drifted silently in space near the battle zone. Captain Alex Turner and his crew were conducting salvage operations on the destroyed Valkyrie ships. "Sir, we found something interesting in the wreckage," reported his chief engineer. Turner looked up from his reports. "What kind of something?" "A section of the command ship is still intact. My team thinks we can board it safely." "Do it, but be careful. Who knows what kind of security systems they have." An hour later, Turner stood in the airlock of the Valkyrie command ship with Dr. Susan Blake, who had flown out from Earth specifically for this mission. The alien ship's corridors were dark and filled with the smell of burned electronics. "This way, Captain," Blake said, following readings on her scanner. "The command center should be just ahead." They found the bridge intact but abandoned. Strange alien writing glowed on undamaged screens. Dead Valkyrie officers lay slumped at their stations. "Can you read any of this?" Turner asked. Blake was already plugging her equipment into the alien computers. "Give me a few minutes. The language patterns are similar to what we've seen before." As she worked, Turner examined the bridge. Everything was larger than human scale, built for the tall, gray-skinned Valkyrie. But what caught his attention were the weapon control stations. They look different from standard Valkyrie technology. Alex, you need to see this, Blake called out. Her face was pale as she looked at the translated data. What is it? These aren't regular Valkyrie ships. Look at this. She showed him the ship's identification records. This vessel was built in the outer sector, at a facility that doesn't exist on any official Valkyrie records. Turner frowned. Secret shipyards. More than that. The construction materials, the power systems, even the weapons, none of it matches standard Valkyrie technology. Blake pulled up more files. And this explains why their attack failed so badly. The screen showed technical specifications that meant nothing to Turner but clearly excited Blake. The weapons they used against New Austin weren't designed to fight human shields. They were designed to fight something else entirely. Fight what? I don't know yet. But whatever it was, it used technology similar to our architect ruins. Agent Paul Rogers' voice crackled through Turner's communication device. Captain Turner, this is Rogers. We've completed interrogation of the survivors. What did you learn, Agent? The Valkyrie crew didn't expect to find human technology this advanced. But more importantly, they're not just afraid of us. They're afraid of something else. Blake looked up from the alien computer. Agent Rogers, did they mention anything about ancient sites or old technology? Funny you should ask, Doctor. They kept talking about the old enemy and the children of the Makers. When we asked them to explain, they claimed humans were following the same path as some other species. What other species? Turner asked. That's the interesting part. They wouldn't say the name. But they kept insisting this species was destroyed for the same reasons they want to disarm us. Blake's hands moved quickly across the alien control panels. I'm downloading everything. But Paul, there's something else. These ships have been specially modified for a specific mission. What kind of mission? Archaeological. Look at this equipment manifest. Deep core drills, excavation lasers, artifact containment systems. This fleet wasn't just coming to attack New Austin. They were planning to dig up something. Turner felt a chill run down his spine. Dig up what? Blake's face went very serious. The architect ruins we found outside New Austin 3 months ago. Agent Rogers' voice became urgent. Doctor, you need to know something else. The prisoners mentioned that the Valkyrie have been excavating sites for over a year. Sites with technology matching our architect finds. How many sites? Dozens. Across multiple star systems, they've been building a collection of architect technology for their own use. Blake stared at the alien data scrolling across the screen. This changes everything. The Valkyrie aren't just afraid of our advancement. They're trying to keep us from finding the same technology they've been collecting. Turner paced the alien bridge. So they attack our colonies to steal our architect ruins while preventing us from finding more. It looks that way. But there's something else. Blake pulled up a star map showing excavation sites. Every Valkyrie dig site is located near systems they've marked for special protection zones. Protection from what? Or protection from whom? Blake corrected. Paul, ask the prisoners about the old enemy again. Find out what happened to this species they keep mentioning. Roger's voice returned a few minutes later. Doctor, you're not going to believe this. According to the prisoners, the species they're talking about was called the Architects. The bridge fell silent. Turner and Blake stared at each other. The Architects were real, Turner asked. Not just the builders of ancient ruins. Apparently, they were a real species, and according to Valkyrie records, they were destroyed by a coalition of alien races because they became too powerful. Blake's mind raced. Paul, did they say why the Architects were considered dangerous? The Valkyrie believed the Architects could integrate any technology, improve on any design, and advance faster than any other species in galactic history. Sound familiar? Turner nodded grimly. They think we're the new Architects. Worse than that, Blake realized. They think we're going to follow the same path. Become unstoppable. So they're trying to eliminate us before we get too strong. But the Valkyrie have architect technology too, Turner pointed out. Why is it okay for them but not for us? Rogers answered. According to the prisoners, the Valkyrie helped destroy the original architects. They think that gives them the right to control architect technology now. Blake saved the final files and disconnected her equipment. We need to get this information to Earth immediately. This isn't just about disarming humanity. This is about preventing us from becoming what the architects were. As they prepared to leave the alien ship, Turner had one more question. Paul, what actually happened to the architects? How were they destroyed? The prisoners wouldn't give details, but they did say one thing that worried them. What? They said the architects weren't completely wiped out. Some escaped to unknown regions of space, and they left behind technology that would awaken when the right species found it. Blake stopped in the airlock doorway. You mean the architect ruins don't just contain technology? They're waiting for someone to use them. And the Valkyrie believe we're that someone. As the UES Freedom departed the wreckage site, Turner and Blake knew they were carrying information that would change everything. The conflict with the Valkyrie wasn't about military threat or territorial expansion. It was about the legacy of a destroyed civilization and whether humanity would be allowed to inherit what the architects had left behind. The galaxy had tried to prevent this once before, and they were willing to do it again. The revelation explained the Valkyrie's desperate actions, but it also raised new questions. If the architects had been destroyed for becoming too powerful, what did that say about humanity's future? And if architect technology was designed to respond to humans, what did that mean about humanity's origins? The answers lay somewhere in the ruins scattered across human space, waiting to be discovered. But the Valkyrie were determined to stop humanity from finding them, no matter the cost. The war had begun over disarmament, but now it would be fought over the right to inherit the greatest technological legacy in galactic history. 1 week after the revelation aboard the Valkyrie ship, President Hamilton stood on the bridge of the UES Constitution as it entered the Nexus Prime system. Admiral Morrison stood beside him, both men watching the massive station that housed the Galactic Senate. "Sir, we're receiving multiple hails from alien ships," reported the communications officer. "How many ships?" Admiral Morrison asked. "Over 50, sir. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy." President Hamilton straightened his uniform. "Put me through to the Senate chambers." The main screen showed the interior of the Galactic Senate. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the circular chamber, their voices creating a buzz of conversation that stopped when Hamilton appeared on their screens. "Delegates of the Galactic Senate," Hamilton began, his voice clear and strong. "I come before you not as a conquered species, but as an equal member of this galactic community." Speaker Zethmar of the Valkyrie rose from his seat, his gray face twisted with anger. "You have no right to address this body, human. Your species has violated every—" "Sit down," Hamilton interrupted, his voice cutting through the chamber like steel. "You will have your turn to speak." The president activated a data display that appeared in front of every delegate. "What you see before you is evidence recovered from Valkyrie ships destroyed while attacking the peaceful colony of New Austin." Murmurs spread through the chamber as delegates read the information. President Hamilton continued. "These documents prove that the Valkyrie have been excavating architect sites across the galaxy for over a year. They have collected advanced technology, all demanding that humanity surrender the same discoveries." Zethmar stood again. "Those sites are dangerous. Your species does not understand what they are dealing with." "You mean we don't understand how to be proper servants?" Hamilton's voice grew harder. "These documents also reveal the truth about the architects." Dr. Susan Blake entered the chamber, walking calmly to the center platform despite the stares of hundreds of alien beings. "Delegates," Blake began, "my analysis of Valkyrie records shows that the architects were destroyed not because they were evil, but because they became more advanced than those who destroy them." A Tyrellian delegate spoke up, his voice calm but interested. "Dr. Blake, are you saying the historical records are incomplete?" "I'm saying they're lies," Blake replied boldly. The architects were destroyed because they offered to share their technology freely with all species. The older races, led by the Valkyrie, saw this as a threat to their power. The chamber erupted in argument. Some delegates shouted accusations while others demanded proof. President Hamilton raised his hand for silence. "There is more," he said. Behind him, Admiral Morrison nodded to someone off-screen. The lights in the Senate chamber dimmed, and a new image appeared in the center of the room. It was a hologram, but unlike anything the delegates had ever seen. Three-dimensional alien writing floated in the air, glowing with soft blue light. "This is a message from the architects," Hamilton explained. "Found in ruins on 3 separate human worlds." "Dr. Blake, what does it say?" Blake read from her notes, her voice echoing through the silent chamber. "To those who come after us, do not let fear stop progress. Technology should serve all life, not just those who claim dominion over it. We leave these gifts not for any one species, but for those wise enough to use them for peace." A young Zephyrian delegate stood up. "Are you saying the architects intended for their technology to be found?" "Not just found," Blake replied. "Improved upon. The architect technology we've discovered doesn't just work, it adapts. It learns from the species using it and becomes more efficient." Commander Kate Wilson appeared on the main screen from Outpost Omega. "Mr. President, I have something to add." "Go ahead, Commander." "Our deep space scanners have detected something remarkable. The architect ruins aren't just scattered randomly across space. They form a pattern, a network." Wilson's data appeared on the screens throughout the chamber. Each site we found connects to others through quantum communication links. When humans activate architect technology, it sends signals to other sites. "Signals saying what?" asked a hegemony representative. "That humanity has passed the test," Hamilton answered. "The architects didn't just leave technology behind. They left a test to see if the next species to find it would use it wisely." Zethmar could barely contain his rage. "You claim these ancient ruins chose you. You expect us to believe." "I expect you to believe the evidence," Hamilton cut him off. He activated another display, showing technical specifications. "Every piece of architect technology works better for humans than any other species that has tried to use it, including the Valkyrie." Chief Engineer Rick Davis stepped forward from the human delegation. "I've tested Valkyrie attempts to copy our architect-enhanced systems. Their versions are 40% less efficient than ours." "Impossible," breathed the Catherian scientist. "Not impossible," Davis replied. "The architect technology is configured for a specific genetic and mental pattern, a pattern that matches human DNA and cognitive functions." President Hamilton looked around the chamber at the stunned faces of the alien delegates. The architects didn't just leave their technology for anyone to find. They left it for their successors. "Successors?" several delegates asked at once. Dr. Blake nodded. "Genetic analysis from architect ruins shows remarkable similarities to human DNA. Not identical, but close enough to suggest a connection." The chamber fell completely silent. The implications were staggering. Finally, an elderly Tyrellian delegate spoke. "Are you claiming humans are descended from the architects?" "We're claiming the architects prepared for someone like us," Hamilton replied. "They knew their enemies would eventually destroy them, so they scattered their knowledge across the galaxy, programmed to activate only for a species that could use it responsibly." "And you believe humans are that species?" asked the Zephyrian delegate. "The technology believes it," Admiral Morrison said. "And our actions prove it. We could have used architect weapons to conquer our neighbors. Instead, we've used them only for defense." Hamilton stepped forward to address the entire chamber. "Delegates, I propose a new treaty, one that honors the architect's vision. We will share our enhanced technology with any species that agrees to peaceful cooperation and mutual advancement." "You would share the most powerful technology in the galaxy?" asked a surprised hegemony delegate. "The architects intended for it to be shared," Blake replied, "but only with those who won't use it for conquest." Zethmar stood one final time. The Valkyrie will never accept this. These humans are dangerous, and must be. The Valkyrie are no longer in charge, Hamilton interrupted. He looked directly at the other delegates. For too long, the older species have decided what younger ones may or may not do. The architects left their legacy for all who could use it wisely. A vote was called. One by one, species after species voted to accept the new treaty. The Tyrellians voted yes. The Zephyrians voted yes. The Hegemony voted yes. Even some of the smaller species that had originally supported disarmament voted to accept humanity's proposal. In the end, only the Valkyrie and two of their closest allies voted no. Speaker Zethmar left the chamber without another word, but his expression promised that this conflict was far from over. As the session ended, delegates from dozens of species approached the human delegation with questions, requests for technology sharing, and offers of alliance. President Hamilton watched it all with satisfaction. Humanity had not only proven they could defend themselves, they had proven they were worthy inheritors of the greatest technological legacy in galactic history. The Galactic Senate had tried to disarm humanity, expecting them to surrender like countless others before them. Instead, Earth's response had shown the galaxy that the age of the old powers controlling everything was ending. A new era was beginning, one where ancient wisdom and human innovation would work together to benefit all species willing to embrace peace and progress. The architect's dream was finally being realized, and the galaxy would never be the same.